Let's get ready for the Westknits Stashbustalong. It is springtime, and that means spring cleaning and stash busting. I've been organizing all my leftover yarns by color and by yarn weight and getting inspired to knit some stash busty projects. So I'm hosting this month a stash bust along where you can choose any Westknits pattern, and my challenge for you is to knit at least 50% of yarn from your stash, and the other 50% could be new yarn or more yarn from your stash. So knit any Westknits pattern this month in the month of April using at least 50% of yarn from your stash. And then at the end of the knit-along, there'll be some fun giveaways and prizes, some project bags, Stephen and Penelope and Westknits gift certificates, and a lot of fun giveaways. We'll do the knit-along starting April 1st all the way to May 15th. So throughout those 6 weeks, we get to choose any Westknits pattern and stash bust it. So get creative with lots of colors. You can turn a solid shawl of mine into a 20 color version, or you could knit any of my Marl projects. So get any Westknits pattern. And the first week of April, all of those patterns will be 25% off on Ravelry and Westknits.com. So that'll be an automatic discount applied for 25% off all of my patterns. So you can get a pattern like the Shawl Smorgasbord. This one was designed for 7 colors, but you can of course do as many colors as you like. All of these stripey, multicolored shawls are really great for stash busting because you need less than a skein of each color in the pattern. But if you're getting extra creative with all of your leftover yarns, you could do a different color for each stripe. So get all your blues out, or all of your oranges and yellows out, and you can make a shawl smorgasbord. This is a very large and lacy type of design. So all Westknits patterns will be 25% off until April 6th. So you have the first week of April to pick your pattern, dive into your stash, and share your color choices. And you'll get an automatic discount. You don't have to use a code or anything on Ravelry or Westknits.com for April 1st through 6th for the pattern discounts. And we're doing a feature of our redesigned bags. So every stash project, you gotta get organized. So dive into those leftover yarns. And if you're using any of our new redesigned bags, from April 1st through April 6th, I'm gonna be adding some stash yarns into each redesigned bag. So these are for orders over 100 euros at Stephen and Penelope for any redesigned bag, like the Project 44. This is a box style project bag with a crossbody strap. So all of these bags I'm gonna be filling up with some, a few colors from my stash. I've been winding up lots of little balls and half skeins, and so you'll be getting at least a few colors in each project bag. This is the Doctor Style Project 44, or this is 45. This is the 44, this box style. The Project 45 is like a Doctor Style zip bag, and it has this really cool storage compartment for all your needles and stuff in the bottom. So again, this is the first week of April from the 1st through the 6th. Any order with the redesigned bags that's 100 euros or more, I'll be adding some of my stash yarn. And my challenge is for you to incorporate at least a color or two of those stash yarns into your stash bust along project. And I'm gonna pick 1 or 2 orders that come through in the first week of April and surprise you with a ton of stash. So these will be like probably at least 400 or 500 grams of yarn going into a couple of these bags. The rest of them will just have a few balls of each, some colors to challenge you for your stash bust along, but a couple of the bags I'm gonna pick randomly and fill them up with a lot of colors from my stash. So you could even do a whole project just if you're one of those lucky ones that get a giant full stash of yarn in your bag order. So those are the 44 and 45, and we also have a lot of our 9s and 10s, including this new taupe color. So these are really great for a stash bust along project because they have the 2 compartments, pockets for your needles, a zipper pouch for your notions, and the Project 9 is really nice and portable, and the Project 10 is a little bit bigger. But I love these divided organizers. So let's look at some pattern inspiration, because this knit-along is going to be really fun and free. You can use any yarn that you like to participate, and you could do shawls or sweaters. You could do a crazy multicolor project that I've designed, but it would be really exciting if you take a simple pattern that I've done, like dotted rays, and stash bust it up. So there's no rules for this knit-along. Use as many yarns and colors as you like. So this is the type of vibe I'm encouraging. This was originally done as a solid shawl, the dotted rays, but you could do a different color for every short row wedge and just get a leftover pile of yarns together. You could use mini skeins, singles, sock yarns, and just, this is so much fun to customize because you can make it as big as you want to. You can stop early for a small size. This is the large size with a lot of yummy speckles. So that's the dotted rays. The quilting triangles is a really fun modular Stashbustalong option because of all the different segments. So when you're looking at projects to knit for the Stashbustalong, this is your chance to go wild and really use up those yarns that have been sitting around for a long time, and you could use a different color in each triangle. This was done with 5 colors in the pattern with 1 skein each. So if you have some full skeins, that would be great for the quilting triangles. But if you have lots of leftovers, like a bucket of your favorite colors, you need 4 grams for each triangle. So this would be a really cool option to do a multicolor rainbow. And the pattern includes a map to help you with your color placement and strategy. So if you want to get creative by doing a light to dark color sequence or a rainbow gradient throughout the triangles, there's a map to help you place your color choices and see which triangle is first and which triangle is last, and you can plan your colors. But 4 grams of each will be enough of fingering weight yarn to do a quilting triangles. I think that would be really nice to do kind of like a quilt inspired, scrappy, different color for each triangle version of that pattern. It'd be really like a vintage quilt vibe. One of my other favorite striped shawls is the Fantastitch. This has 7 colors in the pattern, telling you exactly where to change colors using 7 colors, but you could do a 10 color version, a 20 color version. So I really want to encourage you to get creative and add an extra color opportunity anywhere throughout the project so you can utilize all those yarns that you have, even if they're just small bits. If you just have a little leftover bit of yarn or a mini skein, that's really good for the thin stripes in this pattern. And then you could use some of your larger amounts for the bigger blocks throughout the shawl. The Fantastitch is a nice one to knit because if you have other projects going, you could just knit the small size. And this is a really generous size with the small, this purple version. And the large size is extra big with some more slip stitch sections towards the border for Fantastitch. So go with 1 color story. You could do your purples or your neutrals, or just go bold with a rainbow color pop option like this version. So those are all the Fantastitch. One way to help organize your colors and making strategies for using what you have and making it a bit more cohesive is just putting all your yarn out on the floor, organizing it by color, and then you can get a main color to frame all of those scrappy stash leftovers. So by framing, I mean these types of designs like painting waves, where there's all of these mini skein leftover splashes of color, but there's a framing main color, a light gray. So this uses 200 grams of fingering weight yarn as the main color, and that's enough to get you a really big size. So if you've got your leftover yarn buckets and want to do a warm pink orange version, get all your pinks and golds, plums, and warm tones out, maybe a pop of pink, and you could do a really warm color pop as your contrast color, but then your main color, get 200 grams of a really dark color, or maybe a really light neutral, could be your main framing color. And that's a good opportunity to use up your stash, and maybe you have to get 2 skeins of new yarn to mix up with your stash to make it all go together. But my challenge for you is to use at least 50% of yarn that you have, and then you could use that for all the color pops, and then just get a main color to frame them. So painting waves is a big triangle that has all of these wavy stripes, and it's a really simple and clean way to organize your color pops that's repetitive. You can memorize the stripes as you go and just keep on increasing until it's the size that you like. I love this juicy berry aubergine version. This has some fire red and coral accents, some dusty pinks, and a really dark purple to frame all the contrast pops for the painting waves. So those of you that like marled knitting, we can use any pattern for this Stashbustalong. Starting now, we'll knit all the way through May 15th and share your progress on Instagram and on the Ravelry group. There'll be a Stashbustalong Ravelry group to get inspired, and I can't wait to see the photos of your stashes. So I'd love to see photos of like all your options when you're choosing colors. Just put all your yarns out on the floor, and I'd love to see the curated options as well of your final color palettes. But I'm curious to see those of you that dare to share your full stashes of what you're working with when you're choosing your colors. So this is the Jigshawl Puzzle. This is one of my favorite marled projects. So you could do a marled pattern like the Jigshawl Puzzle and mix 2 colors together for each section. This is a really great one for a super scrappy, every little section is a different color combo, and it's using mostly fingering weight yarns held double. If you're doing a garment, the Garter Marler Cardigan is really great for mixing your fingering weight yarns. It gets an overall DK weight gauge, but it's so fascinating to see all those little color pops come to life, and you just need a little bit of each color. So you can make a full garment just from your leftovers. So marling, I think, is the best way to really mix and blend and make your colors go together. Even the most random types of color combos can work because it's just a little spice of each color, and there's so many ingredients, there's so many shades that it's a great chance to get creative and make your own unique color story. So that's the Garter Marler Cardigan, just a little bit of each color, and you can make a full garment with your marling. And one of the simplest patterns for marling would be my Melting Marl Shawl. This is all garter stitch, and you can use as many colors as you like. Mix in a little bit of mohair, some sock yarn. There's probably about 20 colors or so in this project, and it's a really simple way for you to focus on the colors and not have to worry so much about the shaping and the stitch patterns. Just knit every row, really, really simple rows. It's definitely enjoyable TV knitting. You don't have to think about your stitches, but you just have to dream about what color is going to come next in your marled color sequence. So this one uses blues and greens and peaches. I love the natural kind of nature-inspired landscape of this Melting Marl Shawl. All right, a couple more. If you want to do another shawl, a stripey shawl, this one's a very unique construction, this modular inlay wrap. Look at this. This was a fun experiment when I was mixing my stash together because I didn't want it to be full on color, so I chose neutrals for the middle sections, and then I chose my color pops for the small triangular sections on the edge. And this has a really interesting rectangle shape to the shawl, but with the points at the edge. So it's kind of a lozenge type of shape that's a wide wrap. And then when you wrap it around, you get to see the beautiful triangles decorate the edges with those little color pops. The first triangles used teeny tiny bits, like just 1 or 2 grams of yarn or less for those little triangles. And that was a really fun way to showcase your random leftovers and ground them with some neutrals in the center. All right, a couple more. We've got the Resplendence Shawl. This is a really great scrappy version. You could do fingering weight color pops. A different color for each little wave would be fun for this one. And I used a mohair for the color pop stripe. So Resplendent Shawl has all of these little sections, and these types of patterns are ideal for stash busting because the textures, the garter stitch, and the little eyelets already subdivide the colors, so you can just paint with your stash a new color for each little wedge and have a painter's palette for this curvy Resplendence shawl. All right, lastly, let's do some socks. The newest sock in my Year of Socks ebook is all about stash busting, and I call them the spring cleaning socks because you use itty bitty bits of leftover sock yarn with these fun short row wedges. So you could do some socks for the Knitalong. You could even have time to do a pair of socks at the beginning of April and then maybe a shawl towards the end of April, beginning of May. So if you want to do a couple patterns, you can knit as many as you like with this stash busty effect. So the spring cleaning socks are the newest pattern in my Year of Socks ebook, and these are a couple other of my most stash busty types of socks. The Rain or Shine has a different color for each slip stitch stripe, so that could be mini skeins or leftovers from other socks. And the Painting Bricks uses one main color with lots of leftover contrast color pops for the brick contrasts. So that's enough to choose from. There's so many patterns to pick, and I'm real excited to see especially those solid or two color shawls, or even like a solid dustland sweater, and how you can stash bust and make a multicolored version of it. So all my patterns from April 1st through the 6th will be 25% off automatically. So pick and choose which ones you want to participate with and share those in the Stashbustalong Ravelry group, which I'll link in the notes down below. And if you post on Instagram, then use the hashtag Westknits Stashbustalong. Westknits Stashbustalong. And we'll keep on knitting together until May 15th. And those project bags I showed at the beginning, these will also have that bonus feature until April 6th. Any bag ordered with 100 euros or more will have some Westknits little stash additives added to it. So I'll add those to until April 6th and share your progress. I can't wait to see how you get creative with your stash, and let's get inspired and knit along together.